So welcome. We'll go ahead and get started today. So if you need any blocks, blankets, or bolsters, anything, just have those kind of off to the side wherever you need them. I'm going to start up nice and tall here today. So shrugging the shoulders up by the ears and relaxing them down and back. Any kind of rocking from front to back you need to do to find even weight into the sits bones. You can close the eyes. You can find a spot to gaze at or whatever is comfortable. We'll just start finding our long, smooth exhale. So as you breathe, we're looking for movements to the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs. As you inhale and exhale, may you notice a little bit of length at the top of the inhale. We want to maintain that with the gentle lift of the chest on the exhale. So we're not sagging down, but we're keeping nice and tall. Exaggerating a couple of breaths, you may start to notice movement to the chest and shoulders. Maybe you can find movement to the clavicle and the upper back. And as you find your long, smooth exhale, you can exaggerate a couple of exhales that's pulling the navel in and up to squeeze the stale air out of the lungs. You can exaggerate a couple of inhales, just finding a breath as deep as is comfortable. As you sit up nice and tall, noticing tightness or openness of the body. If you feel fatigued, relaxed, or energized. Noticing where your focus is, and as best you can, we want to draw focus to our long, smooth exhale and maintain focus to the long, smooth exhale. Just going to take about 5 breaths here in stillness. Just finding your breath. We maintain focus as we move through our practice. It'll keep our movement deliberate and safe, our stillness deliberate and safe. Plenty of oxygen to the body means we aren't cramping up or fatiguing as quickly. Focused movement with the breath becomes habit. So when you're ready, let's go ahead and take the right leg out in front of the body, and we'll take the left heel into the pelvis. So with the left heel into the pelvis, just let the leg relax. If you need a block here underneath the leg, that's fine. If you want to bring the foot into half lotus, that's an option. You can bring the foot around for the opposite hip or thigh, which will be a little more ITB and belly of the hamstring, and you always have an option to put any kind of support behind the right knee. Forward fold on the inhale, lifting the ribs on the exhale, easing forward over the leg. You can add a little bit of side to side to the chest and shoulders, ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side if you need the movement. Exaggerating a couple of breaths, you may notice that once again, a gentle lift of the inhale and then the sinking back into your exhale. If you have head or neck issues, you can kind of keep the head extended. You can keep the chin gently tucked. If it's appropriate to relax your head and neck, that's entirely up to you. We'll take about 3 more breaths here. I'm just making sure you're taking lots of breath here. And on the inhale, we'll roll the shoulders back, lift the chest, and we're all the way back to center. Foot to the earth and knee to the sky, and we'll move into our twist. So when I twist around to your left, lift the ribs as you drop the shoulders. And on the exhale, twisting around to your left, gazing over the shoulder or closing the eyes. Remember, we want even weight into the sits bones, so we don't want to be kind of leaning off to the side here, but maintaining your length as you breathe. If you keep the lower back fairly relaxed here, it'll keep you from pushing tension into the lower spine. But instead, think about the ribs lifting, the chest staying open. When you're ready on the inhale, head around last, hold the center. We're going to take the right leg out to the right, left heel into the pelvis. So same thing here. Just going to think opening to the side with a long spine and keeping the chest open. We're still breathing. We'll start off to your left here, so the side of least resistance. And, reaching up on the inhale, and on the exhale, we'll take the left hand down to the floor, up and out to the side. So walk the fingers out, bend at the elbow. Keep them gaze up if you'd like. We don't want to twist the hips forward, but try to keep the sits bones on the floor. If you're coming down to the floor, that's fine. Once again, hips stay on the floor. Gentle lift of the ribs. We'll take about 4 more breaths. Make sure you're keeping the left shoulder strong so we're not shrugging down and collapsing. Lots of length. Putting that movement into the abs and the obliques on the exhale with the bottom set of ribs will come all the way up. We'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Reaching up on the inhale, open the chest. On the exhale, we'll take the right hand down to the floor or block, up and out to the right, bending at the elbow. So a lot more resistance here, so maybe not going as far. Lifting the ribs. We don't want to push the rib cage down into the hip points. Hips are grounded. Hand over the shoulder, bicep by the ear, whatever is appropriate. We'll take our 4 breaths here. Strong right shoulder. Lots of length. Remember, we want to keep the head and neck in a fairly safe position. We don't want to be jutting the chin out in front, but lengthening out, keeping the ears in line with the shoulders, torso. Finding your exhale across the abs and the obliques, all the way back up, shoulders down the back. We'll switch over to the other side. Take your left leg out, right heel into the pelvis. Half lotus if you'd like, or heel around for the opposite hip or thigh. Toes and knees to the ceiling. Lift the ribs. On the exhale, ease the body forward. So a little bit of side to side, the chest and shoulders, ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side. Whatever variation you found on the other side, remember, we just don't want to jut the chin out in front or towards the floor, but maintaining some kind of length across the neck. And we'll take our same breaths here. When you're ready, coming up to a neutral spine, opening the chest as we inhale all the way back up. Into our twist, foot to the earth, knee to the sky. Hug the knee in. We don't want the knee falling out because that'll kind of drop us out to the side when we twist. Think about hugging the knee in gently, lifting the ribs up off the hips. And on your exhale, we'll twist around to the right, gazing over the shoulder or closing the eyes. Once again, even weight, so we're not leaning. Length is our primary focus, not how far into the twist you can get. The last few breaths. Inhale, head around last all to center. We're going to take the legs out. Right knee to the right. We'll take the left leg out to your left. Toes and knees to the ceiling. So the least resistance will be off to your right. That's where your block will be. On the inhale, reaching up. On the exhale, we'll take the right hand down, up and out to the right. Walk the fingers out, bend at the elbow. Lift the left ribs. Left shoulder draws back. Strong right shoulder, your breath. Breathe. Bottom set of ribs, abs, the obliques. Oh, squeeze up on the exhale. Shoulders down the back. Over to the left on the inhale. Open the chest. On the exhale, we'll take the left hand down to the floor or block, and we'll reach up and out to the side. Don't pick the hips up. Maintain length. Breathing here. Hand over the shoulder or bicep by the ear. No tension to the jaw. We don't want to collapse here. It's the strong left shoulder that's going to keep the chest supported. Abs and obliques, once again, will squeeze on the exhale to lift the body, shoulders down the back. We'll take the legs out in front. Any kind of movements through the hamstrings, the quads, just whatever you need here. We're going to come around to the belly next and move into the back bend or sphinx pose, the last one of the spine. So come around to the stomach. Have your heels kind of a little bit wider than your hips so your toes point out to the sides. Hands on either sides of your eyes or your face. We'll slide up to elbows under the shoulders. The tendency is to kind of shrug and collapse. We want shoulders down the back. We want to be actively pressing the chest away from the floor. So neck is long. We don't want to jet the chin out. So everything from the belly button to the toes can stay relaxed. If you want a gentle gaze over opposing shoulders, you can add a little bit of movement, gazing over opposing shoulders. Just be careful of the lower back, shoulder girdle, the rotator cuff around the back of the shoulder. We'll breathe here. If you feel like you need to gaze down to keep a long neck, that's fine. You can gaze forward, that's an option. If you can lift the chin a little farther, that's fine. As long as you're not pushing the chin out and flattening the neck, but lengthening up across the back of the neck. Glutes and abs relax together, pelvic floor and lower back relax together. When you're ready in the exhale, shrug the shoulders, chest drapes down to the floor, elbows to the sides. We'll just come all the way down. Forward to the backs of the hands. You can bend the knees, just some gentle rocking of the heels from side to side. When you're ready, go ahead and put your hands and knees. Just a few cat-cows. So hands under the shoulders. Knees out of the hips, about hip width apart, and just breathe through. Inhale the chest forward. As you exhale, let the breath begin. That'll start to lift the ribs, and then you can exhale in the mad cat. Wait for the inhale to build for a moment, then move into your cow. It doesn't matter if you want to initiate from the tailbone, the base of the skull, or if you want to use the spine as one unit. Just finding that on your own. Neutral spine when you're ready. Shoulders over the wrists. Hips over the knees. We'll move into a lateral stretch here briefly. Just kind of warm up for a gate pose. Go ahead and take your left leg out to the side. We went hip and knee kind of lined up here. Push the chest away from the floor as you pull the ribs away from the pelvis. And on the exhale, make a comma or C shape of the spine over to the left side. You can move the left ear towards the shoulder. Just gaze down. Not twisting the neck, but gazing down at the floor. Pulling the crown of the head away from the tailbone. 3 breaths. Bringing the shoulders back to center. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Any movements you need to the hips, and then we'll extend the right leg to the right. And with the heel in line with the hip and, as best you can. Push the chest away from the floor, pull the shoulders down the back, and on the exhale, comma or C shape with the spine to the right. Ear towards the shoulder as best you can. And again, try not to gaze forward, try not to twist the head around, but gaze down at the floor. On the inhale, shoulders come back over the wrists. Drop the knee. We'll come up to standing on the knees. If you need a little more padding, you can take your mat and kind of fold it over if you'd like. That'll give you a little more padding here underneath of your knees if you feel like that's appropriate for your body. If you're going to use a block, have the block off to your left side. We'll start with the right leg out to the side. So that's going to be toes and knees to the ceiling, so the toes and knees are facing the same direction. If you need to rotate forward, this will restrict your movement a little bit, but will be a little more stable. Just whichever direction you feel like is best. Just try not to find in between, but either out to the side or forward with the hip and thigh. So lift the ribs on the inhale. Shoulders down the back. We want the glutes and the abs to hold us up here. So reaching up, lifting the ribs up off the hips. On the exhale, we'll take the right hand down to the leg, up and out to the right. So you can walk the hands down the leg. If you want to float the hand, make this a little more challenging, a little stronger across the abdominal wall. You want to plant, that's fine. Try not to close the chest down to the floor, but lift up to a spot where you can keep the chest open. Hand over the shoulder, bicep by the ear, whatever's best. We're just breathing here. No tension to the jaw. If you happen to reach the floor, and it's not the goal here, but if you happen to reach the floor, that's your option as well. Push the foot down. Abs and obliques lift the ribs, finding your gaze. We'll take about 3 breaths. No tension to the jaw. On the exhale, all the way up. Abs and obliques carry us through. This is where you can take your left hand to a block, left hand to the floor, and we're just going to open up into a little bit of a half moon variation. Shoulders draw back, stack the shoulders. You can stay here, gazing up past the palm. Glutes in the abs for support. If you want to lift up through the right leg, just keep the leg straight, strong, and reach the heel away from the crown of the head. 4 breaths. Abs and obliques on the exhale to pull us to center. Shoulders down the back, knees down. We need some movements here in between, just a couple of cat-cows. When you're ready, we'll do the same thing on the opposite side of the body. We're just going to extend the left leg out to the left. Toes and knees face the same direction wherever you end up. Hip and knee line up on the other side of the body. You can even push into the leg here just a little bit. So abs and obliques, hug up against the skeleton. Lift the ribs up off the pelvis. On the inhale, we'll reach up. On the exhale, we'll take the left hand down to the leg. So be careful of the knee. We don't want to put a bunch of pressure on the knee. You can walk the hands down. You can float the hand, whatever variation you feel like is appropriate. Hand over the shoulder, bicep by the ear here on this side. Just make sure you're finding length. So we're pulling the ribs away from the pelvis. You're bringing your hand to the floor or a block. That's an option. Outside edge of the leg will just be a little more challenging here. And we'll take about 4 breaths here. Keep the chest open, breathing deep. Abs and obliques on the exhale. Just gently squeeze to lift the body. We're going to bring our right hand down. Floor or block, we'll open to our half moon variation. Hip should be over the knee, shoulder over the wrists. Hand wide. Reach the hands apart, finding your gaze. If you're floating up through the left leg, that's up to you, your breath. Abs and obliques once again. Squeeze on the exhale. That'll lift the body back up. If you need to bring the foot down first, that's perfect. Knees to the floor, gentle cat-cows. From here, we'll come back sideways on our mat. We're going to come up into a lunge, so blocks handy if you need it once again. Start with the right foot forward, dropping to the hips. Rocking the hips from side to side if you'd like. Pull the chest forward here for a couple of breaths. So you can keep the knee down to the floor if you'd like, or you can lift the knee up. If you lift the knee, we want to spin the heel down to the floor for side angle. Right hand to the floor, a block, and it can be on either side of the foot. We're just going to inhale. The hand to the sky, sinking to the hips, gazing up past your top hand, and we'll breathe here. Open to the chest. Think about keeping your right foot pressing down into the floor as you open. On the exhale, drop the hand. You can let the legs straighten out just a little bit. If you have the knee to the floor, we'll just start walking our hands back around to the other side. If you have your leg lifted, we'll just start walking the hands back around to the other side. Drop the knee and pull the chest forward. We'll take a few breaths here. Chest forward away from the hip points. Rocking the hips from side to side, gazing over your left shoulder if you need it. Lots of breath. So from here, you can spin the heel down to the floor once again, or you can keep your knee down, whatever you think is going to be best for the body. Hand to either side of the foot. We're just going to reach up. So stack the shoulders and open the chest. The tendency is to kind of collapse the chest and put the hips back. We want hips forward. Chest is open. Remember, for those of us who find inside edge of the legs a little more accessible, that's your option. We'll breathe here. Don't let the chin jut out, but lengthen the neck. Hand over the shoulder or bicep by the ear. On your exhale, drop the hand. If the knee's down, that's fine. You can still shift the hips back a little bit. Walk the hands to center and any kind of movement you need through the legs from here. Press into the floor. Find a half lift. Keep your neck long. We don't want to jut the chin out, but lengthen the back of the neck. Hands to the shins. We'll inhale all the way back up, shoulders over the hips. Any kind of movements you need to do through the legs. You want to find the feet out fairly wide. You don't have to bring the feet out farther than the wrist. If you want to make it out that far, that's fine. If you want to stay in a little more narrow, that's an option here today. We're going to move into Warrior 2. We're going to start by turning the right toes out to the side. You can float your arms out into T position, shoulders down the back, keep the chest open. When we drop down, we just want the knee over the top of the ankle. So when you're ready on the exhale, just drop the knee in on top of the ankle. If you're a little more narrow, your hips aren't going to be quite as low, and that's just fine. As long as the knee and ankle's lined up, you're in a good spot. Strong left leg. Reach the arms out. You will gaze over the right fingertips here. Just a few breaths. Gently push the feet down into the floor. Go and find a reverse warrior first. We'll take the left hand to the back of the left leg, reach up to the right arm and the ribs, gazing up wherever is best. No tension to the jaw. Another side angle variation. We're going to bring the right elbow to the right thigh, shoulders over the elbow. We'll take the arms up, gazing up wherever is comfortable. We're going to move back into bicep by the ear. That's up to you. Gently push the feet down. Lift the ribs up off the hips. And exhale all the way up to Warrior 2. Inhale, and then exhale to stand. Take the toes to the center. Any kind of movements you want from there, we're just going to do the same thing on the opposite side so you can slowly rotate out through the left toes. The hips are going to follow you around, but we're going to keep them open anyway towards the long end of the mat. Keep position with the arms as the shoulders relax. You can gaze over the left middle finger if you'd like. On the exhale, sink the knee. We just want knee and ankle lined up. Once again, your hips will sink to wherever is appropriate with the knee and ankle lined up. Feet push down, strong straight right leg, lift the ribs. We're going to breathe here. No tension to the jaw. Reverse warrior first. Let's take the right hand down, reach up to the left, lift your ribs, push the feet down, and we'll breathe. Relaxed jaw, long spine and neck. On the exhale, we'll start to bring the left elbow, left thigh, shoulder over the elbow. Same thing here. You can open up as little or as much as you want. Keep the chest open so you aren't pushing the hips out behind you. Same breaths. Gaze up at the ceiling or the inside edge of the left foot. Exhale up. Breath. Exhale to stand. Toes to center. Forward fold on the exhale. Chest forward, thighs back. You can bring in the fingertips to the floor or block once again. And you're shifting from side to side to the hips. We'll take a couple of breaths here. Once again, it's going to be relaxed if you need to. You can reach out to the feet. How far down you come will depend on how far out to the sides. The further out your feet go, the closer to the floor the head's going to get. The further in your feet are, the more you'll tend to hang off the hips. Hands for support. Lift the ribs. We're all the way back up. Turn out to the right toes. We're going to come into a triangle here briefly. If you like to use blocks, that's fine, but the point is not to touch the floor. It's to maintain length of the body. Arms out to T position, shoulders down the back on the exhale. Reach to the right, hips kick left. And then we'll inhale open. If you're going to bring your hand to your knee, just be careful. We don't want to put pressure on the kneecap. Maybe find the shin here. Find a gaze. They can be up at the ceiling, down the floor to the inside edge of the arch. It'll be a pretty stable spot. Keep the legs strong, ribs lifting up off the hips. More and more of a challenge. Float the hand behind the leg, and we'll take 2 breaths. Breathe. Abs and obliques will squeeze you up on the exhale. Toes to center. Same thing on the opposite side of the body. Don't let the hips come around with you, but stay squared off at the long part of the mat. T position with the arms. On the exhale, reach out to the left as you kick the hips out behind you. We'll reach up from here. Same variation. You can float hands. We're going to be careful of the knees. We're not putting pressure on the knee here. If you're using the floor blocks, that's optional. Outside edge will be a little more challenging here, depending on what's appropriate for your body. And we'll breathe. Finding a gaze that's appropriate. Abs and obliques squeeze on the exhale to lift. Toes to center. On the exhale, forward fold. Hinging, chest forward, reaching down for the floor. Here's some shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side. We'll think about 4 breaths. Hands or support will come all the way up to standing. You can heel toe in a little bit, or just bring the heels in and leave the toes out. Hands in front of the heart. Let's lift the elbows up to about shoulder height. Keep the chest open. Goddess on the exhale. We're just going to drop to the knees. We'll just stop when the knees and ankles line up. So if you're out further, you might be able to drop a little bit more. It just kind of depends on what's appropriate for your body. Keep the ribs lifting up off the hips. We don't want to press the belly forward, but we want to think about lifting and keeping the shoulders and hips lined up here. If you feel comfortable and you want to stay, that's fine. Or you can bring the arms out to the sides. We'll take 4 breaths. Gentle lift of your gaze if you need. You can even open the palms up to the sky. Just wait for an exhale to come up. Arms relax. Heel toe, step the feet together. Shake out the legs and ankles just a little bit. So when you're ready, we're just going to come up into a balancing pose. And if you want to find a wall to stand next to, you can hold the wall out to your side. You can lean the wall behind you. Just wherever you end up, find a spot where you could keep even weight into the feet and leave the wall if you need it. So we don't want to be in a situation where we're leaning up against the wall and then we're relying on it to stay up. We're just kind of using it as a guide. Simple tree, bring the inside or outside edges of the feet parallel. Rotate the palms forward to drop the shoulders. That'll open the chest. A couple of breaths. Whenever you're ready, inhale up to your tree. So we can bring the foot up to or the toes of the foot and go up to the calf muscle. Ideally, we want to keep pressure off the kneecap. So that may be heel below the knee or toes above the knee. If you're finding half lotus, you can bring the leg into half lotus. Wherever you end up, foot and leg pressed together, whether that's to the top of the thigh, inner thigh, calf, or foot. Just to create some isometric action to the hips. Lift the ribs, shoulders down the back, chest is open. 5 breaths. You can put your hands wherever you want. Whenever you're ready on the exhale, hands in front of the heart. You can close the eyes or exhale the feet down side by side. We'll shake out the legs and ankles. Same thing on the other side of the body. So if you need the wall, just turn around so you can use the wall with the other hand, so you aren't always leaning out to the same side. And we'll start off with inside or outside edges of the feet parallel. Lift the ribs, shoulders down. On the inhale, opposite side, just whatever you found on the other side. Try to find the same thing. Push the foot and leg together. Lift the ribs. Keep the neck long. That's the crown of the head reaching up to the ceiling. Wherever you ended up, take the same breaths. Same position with your arms, wherever that happens to be. Same breaths here. As you breathe, wait for an exhale to drop the hands or wherever is best for you. From here, you can close the eyes or you can exhale the feet down side by side, whichever feels most appropriate for the body. Shake out the legs and ankles just a little bit. And we're just going to come down to the floor. Toes and knees to the sky. Just a little forward fold here before we come down to the back. Lift the ribs on the inhale, forward to the chest on the exhale. Ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side, elbows in or arms out. If you bring the chest to opposing sides of the thighs, you can start to hit a IT band. If you choose to relax the head and neck, that's fine. Just don't jut the chin out. Try to maintain some length across the back of the neck, and you can do that by bringing the chin towards the base of the throat or the clavicle. If you exaggerate a couple of breaths, you should notice the movement through the intercostals across the back of the body. Last breath or so here. Reaching the crown of the head up away from the tailbone, so we're lengthening as we come up. Hands for support as much as you need it. Go ahead and grab the thighs, pull the knees into the chest. We'll just hug the knees in here for just a moment. Ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side. Couple of deep breaths. If you need to, you can clear any props out from your mat. We're just going to come down to the spine. So maybe find the hips down to about center. Hands to the thighs. We'll tuck the chin into the chest and roll onto the back. Any kind of side-to-side rocking you need to do from here. When you're ready, we'll take the feet straight up to the sky. That can be hands to the calves. You can bring hands to the backs of the knees or the hamstrings. If your legs kind of want to push out from underneath of you, you can even bend the knees if that feels appropriate. Wherever you are breathing. If you'd rather bring the hands to the sides, that's your option. A little bit of movement through the feet. You can let the heels press out and then push out to the ball of the foot. If it feels more comfortable to push out to the toes, you can push the toes out or the ball of the foot, whatever feels best. And just back and forth for a moment. That'll push the calf out long. Push the calf up behind the knee, just back and forth here. When you're ready, we're just going to bring knees into the chest. And we're going to take the left leg out long. And that may be foot to the floor for you, and this is as far as you go. If you want to straighten the leg, that's also an option. Some people like to activate the leg and hover it above the floor, and if you choose to do that, that's fine. Just make sure you're keeping your right leg entirely relaxed, and we'll take about 4 breaths. When you're ready, we're just going to take the knee into the chest, any side to side you need to do. If you want to take knees towards the shoulder or armpits, that's an option. If you feel like rocking from front to back is better, that's also an option here, just as little or as much as you need. Same thing on the other side. So this time we're going to keep the left thigh where it is, left knee where it is. We'll bring the right foot to the floor, and this may be where you stay. If you want to lengthen the right leg out, you can just relax it across the floor. And if you activate it on the other side and you want to hover, that's fine. Just make sure you're keeping the left leg relaxed. Same breaths here. Knees into the chest. And we're just going to bring both feet down flat to the floor, nice and wide. Just a nice relaxed twist here. If there's a different twist you like and you want to do that instead, that's perfect. For now, all we're going to do on the exhale, if you have your feet wide, this will keep a lot of pressure off the body. Knees left, and then we'll gaze right. We'll take about 4 breaths. Lower back towards the floor, inhaling or exhaling to center. Readjust, feet wide, knees can still touch in the middle. On the exhale, knees right, gaze left, and we'll take the same deep breaths here. Inhale back up, lower back to the floor. If you'd rather exhale out of your back bends, that's fine. It'll actually keep the abs a little more engaged. Knees into the chest for a moment. Then we want to drop the feet down as close to the glutes as is comfortable. So we just want them to come down. Feet come down flat. And we want the knees about hip width apart, arms to the sides, palms down, so our back bend. The glutes and the abs are going to hug up against the skeleton to hold us up. And we don't need to squeeze the glutes real hard. Abs are just kind of making a gentle corset around the torso. Gentle lift of the pelvic floor, and on the inhale, we'll lift the tops of the thighs. Pelvis lifts. And we'll push the weight from the feet up towards our shoulders. You can actively push into the arms however you want from here. You need to bring the hands together under the body into a big fist and roll up onto the forearms. That's an option. Wherever you are, push the hands, push the arms down however is appropriate. Even if you're bending the elbows, you can still press into the triceps. 4 breaths. When you're ready on the exhale, move the arms out from underneath of you and slowly start to bring the spine back down to the floor. Knees into the chest when you get there, and you kind of movement from here. Any stretching out the legs you might want to do. Movements to the feet once again. Whether you want to push out to the toes or the ball of the foot is up to you. Heel, ball of the foot. When you're ready, we're going to come down into our corpse pose. So you can just bring the feet to the floor, stretch them out one at a time long. So we want heels a little bit wider than your hips so the toes can fall off to the sides. Same thing with the hands. Palms up, shoulder blades flat underneath the upper back. Rock the head from side to side to find a perfect spot on the back of the skull. And we'll just breathe here for a moment. You can close the eyes or find a spot on the ceiling to gaze at. Take a few breaths. As you inhale and exhale, try to pull focus to the movement of the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs. Noticing movement of the ribs as you breathe. Relaxing the arches of the feet, the palms of the hands, and the muscles around the belly button. Exaggerating a couple of breaths. On your exhales, just imagine you're sinking down into the floor. On the inhale, just letting the body expand to get plenty of oxygen to the body. Look at your fingers and toes a little bit. If you want to stay right here, you can stay relaxed for another 10 minutes if you want. If you're ready to come up, you can slowly begin to draw the knees into the chest. Any movements through wrists and ankles you need to add. Once again, fingers and toes. If you'd like, rolling over to whichever side of the body feels most comfortable for you. Traditionally, that's the right side of the body, so you can lift the heart above the organs and the brain. Just a couple of breaths. Hands for support, all the way up to our seated position. Shoulders over the hips, ears over the shoulders. Lengthen and breathe for just a moment. Just taking a moment to notice subtle changes to the body, the breath, of the mind here at the end of your practice. Changes you created, whether that's posture, focus, or the breath. Coming back to those subtle changes as often as you need them as we continue through our day, as we continue through our week. I honor the light in you. It's the same light in me. Namaste. Thanks for joining us. Good to have you as always. Enjoy the rest of your day or your weekend or wherever you are.